Game started.
Mitochondria. Mighty mitochondria. Okay, d4, knight f6. I said I was going to play next instead of another Slav. Though Slavs have an undeserved reputation of being boring. They can be very interesting. They can be boring too. So a Nimzo-Indian. I think this is called the Kasparov line in the Nimzo-Indian. You don't see it that often. I don't have a set plan. I like to play c5 in the Nimzo in general and get my knight to c6. Sometimes I prepare for that with d6 because I don't want the pawn pushing too far ahead. There's no bishop guarding the d6 square, so you need to put something there to keep this pawn from charging all the way in. So the idea that the knight here is if he pushes, then you exchange, and then the knight can reroute to the king side. Now my bishop, it's not going to get stranded over here, so I don't have to exchange it. I can actually bring the bishop back around this way. So I'm not going to do the usual thing of exchanging my bishop for his knight in order to mess up his pawns. I'm going to keep the bishop and bring it back to maybe c7. Hope that that's a useful diagonal for attacking his king. And then maybe play the move e5. Let's get in the move a6 first. I realized I don't want his knight coming into b5 and hitting my d6 pawn. Say like if knight b5 was played here, like if I had moved the bishop to c7 before playing a6, he could play knight b5 and it's hitting the bishop and the pawn. But now the bishop is here to support e5, and so I think I can play it. And we will have somewhat of a blocked position. If he pushes on with d5, I have knight d4 here. And the knight can never be chased away from that square, but it can always be traded off. So which way? I think I want an open c-file here. So I'll bring my rook over to the c-file eventually and get some pressure on it, hopefully. Hopefully that's my long-term plan. And in the meantime, I've kind of shut down his light-squared bishop, and he's got to reroute his pieces, so I may be losing some time, but he's losing time too. Here, let's stop the pin, because that would be awkward to stop otherwise. Yeah, this is maybe not so great. I don't want to take and leave myself with two isolated pawns, but if I don't take, then he gets to play f4, which is an annoying move. f5, because it restricts my space over here on the king side. He may be able to mount an attack now. So we'll see. I'm going to try and do some things on the queen side and hopefully distract him from his king side attack. But he's probably thinking about the bishop sack here, which might not be all that bad. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. And I could move the knight somewhere and bring my queen into f6. That's how I'd plan to deal with that. Maybe knight h7, bishop f6. It helps that his bishop is a little bit out of play. Okay, yeah, I want to open up a line over here on the queen side somehow. In some way. Yeah, I was expecting him to take with the bishop. That's pretty logical. Now this is hanging. That pawn is supported. This is not hanging. I really want to get rid of this bishop on bishop on d2 there, but I don't see how to do it. I wanted to play bishop to a5 and trade it off, but he can play the move b4 there and stop that, so I don't think that would work. Okay, so he retreated his light squared bishop. So I have some good squares in front of my pawn. Maybe rook to the c file then. I thought I needed the rook to support the pawn push to b5. So that's why I went to b8 first, but maybe it was a waste of time. I have to look at that. Let's see here, when I went b5. Yeah, because he could have traded and before rook b8 here. Could I have played it here? Takes, b5, takes, takes. Yeah, I could have played it there. I didn't need rook b8. Yeah, so I kind of wasted the tempo there. Okay, so he's going ahead with the attack. I could throw in a bishop move. Where does the queen go? Queen has to stay in touch with his bishop, I assume. Can't go here or here. It could go here or here. Probably helps him. Okay, let's just take the bishop. Queen takes, and then knight here to support queen to f6. Yeah, his knight goes there. That's annoying. So let's put the pawn on f6, so at least, oh, I'm getting mated here. Ah, queen g4. Pawn to f6, queen g7 was mate. Okay, but queen g4 maybe holds it together here. But he has a check and he can win my bishop. So queen takes queen, knight takes queen. Knight f6 check, king up, knight takes bishop. And maybe his knight is trapped there. From here it can go to that square, that square, that square. So I could attack those with the knight with the rook and cover all those squares. And then coming back this way, here, here, and here. Yeah, maybe...
Check.
Maybe his knight gets trapped. That's the plan. So if I don't get a piece back here, then I'm just 2 pawns down for nothing. Knight, 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 knight. Yeah, it's only those squares. He can defend it with bishop to
check.
Aha, he could play there. And defend it that way. Okay, but the knight is still trapped. But I can't move my bishop. Without giving him a target here. That's what I can do. I can move this out of the way. Play my bishop to a4. a5. Pawn to a4, bishop a5, rook. Rook to c7. He can play rook c... yeah, rook c1. That hits his rook. He takes the rook, I take the knight, bishop takes rook, bishop takes rook. And I'm down the exchange. So probably rook takes rook is better. Rook takes rook, rook takes rook. And then knight here check, rook takes. Knight here check. Aha. He just moved his rook. Okay, so let's take here. That pins the rook. And then I can take here. Maybe get a few of my pawns back, and then it'll be even material. And I have an advanced protected pass pawn in the center, so hey, my chances are looking up a bit. And this pawn on f7 is loose. f6. Pawn on f6 is loose. Knight still has no moves. So maybe just start pushing the pawn now. The bishop is guarding the bishop is guarding that square. Knight is protecting d6. Bishop is guarding d1. So pawn push, and then I take the knight, distracting his bishop, but then I push the pawn the rest of the way home. And the knight still has no moves, interestingly. He could go after my bishop. This bishop has no moves.
Server announcement.
Well, I guess I could go back to c7, but then it would be a kind of a repetition thing. Rook here and here. Bishop going between c7 and a5. Where else? Oh, the bishop could go all the way to yeah, the bishop could go all the way to e1. And then I have to figure out how to get rid of this guy. Okay, but he's not doing that. Okay, so one more move. One step closer. So now I'm threatening to take the rook, and if he takes back to queen. So this rook is effectively, this knight, threatening to take the knight, and if he takes, then I queen. So this knight is effectively undefended. Yeah, so he runs away with the knight now. Yeah, probably a good idea. While the rook is protecting it. So I need to get my rook somewhere useful. So if the knight moves, maybe I can go to... no, I can't. The knight can go here and protect the b2 pawn. Unfortunately. Yep, that's very annoying. Okay, this is a tricky move. I just want to get this b2 pawn off so I can play rook here with check and queen my pawn, right? So I don't mind sacrificing the bishop for that purpose. Although, maybe it's not good. Pawn takes bishop, rook here check, king moves to h2. And then when I go here with the queen, and maybe after anyway, he can take it with the bishop, and so I give up a bishop and a pawn, and I just get a bishop back. So I haven't gained anything. This pawn is still loose on f6. Maybe I should
Check.
take it. But if I take it, I lose this pawn on e6. And knight here just doesn't do enough. It hits the bishop, but the bishop can move. Where does the bishop go? Here, here. The bishop can go there. Okay, let's go ahead and promote. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Oops. Counting my pawns before they hatch. Oh well. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so he stayed 2 pawns up through all of that. Very annoying. Needed to protect the pin knight. He can play just b4.
Check.
Or he can go into an endgame. Maybe this is winning too. Not so clear. Yeah, this is winning. Because I can't ever take these pawns. And I can't stop this one. So I'm going to resign.
Black resigns.